Okay, I show 5 o'clock. Good afternoon. Welcome to the special city council meeting. I call this meeting to order. Roll call. Danielle, please. Actually, it's Melissa. Oh, it's Melissa.
Mr. Mayor Miller, absent. Mr. Lopez,
Here.
Ms. Parker,
Here.
Mr. Rackler,
Here.
Mr. Self,
Here.
Mr. Elkins, Mr. Merrick, Mr. Robinson,
Here.
and Miss Veronica.
Here. Okay, we
Okay,
do
we
have a
have
quorum. Thank you very much. Okay,
Point of order.
yes.
Mr. Elkins resigned. Latest meeting,
Correct.
so I don't think you need to be in the role.
We will make sure that his name is removed. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our action items. Finance Department, Ms. Rivera, Director. Number 1, requesting approval for state audit contract with Patillo, Brown and Hill for fiscal year 2025 audit.
Yes, good afternoon, council, and thank you for making it at the special meeting so that we can get our budget timely turned in to our state. So the first item is the request for a state audit contract again with Patillo, Brown and Hill for our fiscal year 2025. Our current FY 24 audit has been completed and has been submitted to the state auditor and is currently under review. The audit is still considered confidential until it's released to by the Office of the State Auditor. We can anticipate that probably in the next few weeks. Once that is complete, then the auditing team of Brown and Patillo will present to the council the fiscal year 2024 audit, okay? With that being said, I would like to recommend and request we utilize the same auditor for our fiscal year 25 audit. Typically the audit will begin in June, July, as soon as possible, so that the audit can be completed and turned in by the deadline, which is December 15th for municipalities. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions or
I
comments?
got a question. How many years are they required to stay with one?
So they're not required to stay, but I believe it's 6 years right now that the maximum that we could utilize them for, consecutive 6 years. Would only be our second year with this team.
Okay,
You were comfortable with the way
Yeah.
they worked with you and everything?
Yes, they were very responsive and helpful. We did come at the very end of their client list. I believe whenever I brought it to you, it was already in the fall. So we were put at the bottom of the client list, but it got completed.
okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, would we need to do a roll call on this?
Say yes, Ms. Veronica's on Zoom.
Yeah, but
I think what you can do, Ms. Parker, is just say, everybody present, all in favor, and then ask what my vote is.
okay, do I have a motion to approve for state audit contract with Patillo, Brown and Hill for fiscal year 2025 audit?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Okay, the motion is made by Mr. South, seconded by Mr. Rackler. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 2, presentation and approval by council of fiscal year 2026 preliminary budget and resolution 2025-15. Ms. Rivera.
Okay, council. So in your packet, you'll see the LGBMS recap report, and Ms. Christine has also shared it on the screen. So before you is our FY 26 preliminary budget. It's due June 1st to Department of Finance. We covered majority of the details at our finance budget workshop that we held on April 28th. It was initially scheduled for 28th and 29th, but thankfully we were able to knock it out on that first evening. There was a lot of information we covered that evening, and I also shared with you the draft budget worksheets for your review as we worked closely with department heads to build this budget. So in summary, the recap report you see is the budget we enter into DFA's software utilizing the draft worksheets. So all those worksheets you have already seen in Excel, that's all summarized and recapped on that report for you. These are the numbers we share with you that we have summarized here. So this being our preliminary budget, you'll see on this report that the cash column and the investment columns are estimated amounts at this point, with it being our preliminary budget. We're estimating these balances at what that amount will be as of June 30th. You will see actual ending cash balances and investment balances on the final budget. That is the final budget that I'll be presenting in July. So you'll see these column amounts change to their actual. And then, of course, revenues and expenditures, you see that column. Those are our projected or forecasted amounts for our upcoming budget. This report here, you see, captures all of the city's funds. So in total, we're looking at approximately a little over $34 million budget. And if you'll get that next page where you see that 34 expenditure, that is the budget that we will be managing and estimating, forecasting for our upcoming fiscal year. And again, it encompasses all of our city's funds. Okay. So there are quite a bit of budgets on here. For the most part, very self-explanatory, but I would like to touch on a few budgets, being our major funds, which is our general fund is the very first one. You see, we are forecasting a little over 13 million. 13.244 in revenues, and then 13.6 million in expenditures, and a net cash transfer of 649,000. We are budgeting at this point to utilize any ending cash balance that we will have this fiscal year to cover any budget shortfall. We will be closely monitoring the budgets as we progress through the year, as we are anticipating seeing an increase in revenues from our GRT increase to take effect July 1st. And again, that'll take effect July 1st, going from 7.9375% to 8.55%. So it'd be helpful to spread the word to our fellow neighbors as this GRT takes place. When it takes effect, we will be able to see some of that revenue come into September. So we won't start to see some of that change until later in the fall and really utilize some of those numbers even towards the end of our fiscal year 26. We're budgeting conservatively, and I know I talked about this at our budget finance meeting, and then that way we can plan to adjust accordingly based on the revenues. Okay. So then the next fund that I want to touch on is our Water Enterprise Fund. And that one's, yep, there towards the bottom. You will see 9.1 million budgeted in revenues. And then from that, a little over 4 million is budgeted to generate from water utilities. The remaining is water trust board projects at this time. Then the expenditures are budgeted at just a little over 11 million. In total, this Water Enterprise Fund has a shortfall of just a little over 2 million. With this budget request, we will be definitely, most certainly tapping into any estimated ending cash balance as of June 30th. The $2 million deficit does include capital purchases of currently 772,000. And I worked closely with Mr. Mendoza as he did have a long list of items, tools we needed, capital purchases, but we had to take off quite a bit from that list to really only capture what we truly need at this moment. So you can see that without these capital requests, this fund is estimated to operate with a little over $1 million deficit. By carefully monitoring this budget, we may have enough cash to cover one more fiscal year deficit, but we will not be able to operate after that. So something to consider later on as we work through data, numbers, and such for potential utility rate increases or any such opportunity to generate revenue. I've been working also closely with Ashley on some water trust board applications and such. And as they look at this, they also determine if our net system revenues can pay back a loan and such, and we don't. So something definitely to consider for our future in our water enterprise fund. So those are the two major funds I wanted to highlight in this summary and discuss, as they are our two major funds out of that $34 million total. Come July, I will present the final budget. There may be some adjustments, and I'll highlight any changes that I make from this preliminary. So with that being said, I'll stand for any questions on any other funds or the two funds we talked about in our recap. Not only did I provide the recap report, but you will see all the details as well. And then we also covered it in our finance committee meeting.
Okay, is there any questions or comments at this time? Okay. Mr. Merrick, go ahead.
On your water enterprise, is there a breakdown column that shows the major expenditures and things on that?
There is, so you'll see that on the detail report. I believe in your packets, it's following the recap report. And then let me point you to that page.
The fund number?
It's Fund 506, but in that recap or that LGBMS report, it is. It will be that 50100. It starts on page 20 of 27 from the detail report.
Page 20.
Mhm.
Page 20 of the 27, you said?
Yes. It says on the bottom of the page, it'll say 20 of 27. And then that water enterprise,
Okay,
you'll see where that
Okay.
fund,
not page 20.
you'll see where that fund begins. It'll start, so it'll say water enterprise, and it'll start with the revenues, and then from there it'll go to the expenditures.
Everybody find it?
Page 33 of them.
So the water trust board funds are included in this?
Yes, that's correct. The revenues as well as the expenditures. And there is about for our upcoming fiscal year, there is about a $200,000 match that we'll have. So that's recorded in expenditures.
What generates that $4 million?
So the first part will be your utility service fees is right at over 4 million.
What generates?
Our water fees,
The water part of your bill,
correct,
but just the water part.
correct, the water part.
The sewer part.
This,
the sewer-
and then the solid waste is in the solid waste, yes.
I couldn't figure out what the difference in that and water use fee is.
Did you get your question answered, Mr. Mayor?
I'm looking through.
It's formulating new ones.
Okay, well, he's still looking. We're gonna go to Mr. Robinson. Your question, please.
You use a volatile word conservative. You're very conservative on the budget adjustments, et cetera. When you talked to Mr. Mendoza in that discussion, when he was calling out his extra stuff, did we leave money in there for emergency, like what we need valves in
Yes.
case we get a leak? I'm always worried about that because every time there's a leak,
Mm.
that's gonna be another dollar we're gonna save. And just like the swimming pool, we don't have the money to pay for it. So I'm worried about, do we have enough money set aside to cover emergencies?
There is money set aside to cover that in case of an emergency. In fact, one of our loan requires that we set up a utility reserve for a contingency like that.
And Water Trust Fund, will they help us on that too if we need it?
I think that would be a little difficult. Because whenever we apply for these water, they're already designated and allocated to certain expenditures.
So we on our own.
We are on our own.
So I just hope you gave them enough money just in case we have that big break, 24-inch pipe bust.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
And does this carry over? So it's not something that we have to use by the end of
Right.
the year. It'll just continue to grow.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions from anyone else?
I have one more.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Rowe.
How can the street make money? We're on the budget sheet, it shows revenue, street funds.
Mhm.
How do we make money on?
So in the budget, in the municipal street fund that you see there, it is primarily grants that we're receiving. So our upcoming fiscal year for our municipal streets budget, we are anticipating, we are receiving our TPF grant. That one I believe is almost 2 million. And then I know we have some capital outlay. So that's what that is. That's that revenue for that. And then you also see the expenditures.
I apologize for not coming to your budget hearing. As you know, I'm already control with something, but maybe I would have got that answer there, but thank you for that.
No, you're welcome.
explanation.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Merritt?
I'm good.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, so the presentation has been presented and we are giving approval by council. Is this correct?
Correct.
Yeah, for the fiscal year 2026 preliminary budget and resolution 2025-15. Do I have a motion?
So,
Okay, a motion by Mr. Robinson, seconded by Mr. Self, all approved for this. Say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, say nay. Okay, motion approved. Very much. Okay, moving on to item number 3.
Sunday day when you need.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
What?
I didn't hear Ms. Veronica.
That'd be roll call.
would that be roll call?
Yes.
Okay,
And
let's
I
go.
didn't hear Ms. Veronica either.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, very good. We're gonna do roll call on this one, Ms. Cordova.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Reckler,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
yes.
Very good. Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 3, presentation and approval of resolution 2025-16, fiscal year 2025, fourth quarter budget adjustments, part 1. Ms. Rivera.
Okay, so we have quite a bit of budget adjustments before us. This is part 1, as I anticipate there will be part 2 as we close out our fiscal year. Those budget adjustments for part 2 you'll probably see in July. So Ms. Christine also has shared this budget adjustment sheet for us on the screen. Each adjustment is noted with its corresponding fund. You'll see what fund it pertains to, and then you'll also see the department. And then the object code is letting us know what it is, whether it's equipment, supplies, and such. So the majority of the budget adjustments you see before you are housekeeping adjustments to actual for the expenditures or revenues that we have received. And then some are to capture grants that we were awarded along with the expenditure. A new budget adjustment to this year's budget is the recreation fund. And I believe it's kind of, yeah, right, the fund 21700. So that one we did discuss at our budget workshop in our finance committee as a request to move forward with this. You'll note on there, the budget adjustment is to add a youth sports program coordinator. This amount will encompass, probably for the most part, if we can get somebody in June, it would be the June payroll for this. Once we get somebody in there in that role, we will know more as far as expenditures and what we need to budget. So we can budget adjust accordingly once we know and have more information for that recreation fund. And then now I would like to point you and fast forward a little bit to our capital projects fund, budget adjustments, and solid waste fund. So we are in dire need of garbage trucks. We have had a lot of maintenance expenditures in this fiscal year towards our garbage trucks. So to help fund one project, we can utilize the city's capital project fund. This would adjust within that same budget to be able to fund one truck. The truck, right now, the quote that we have is $315,000 for each truck. And then we can also adjust within solid waste fund. So currently we have a budget to transfer from solid waste to general fund, $200,000. I would like to utilize that, keep that money in solid waste, the $200,000, not transfer it to general fund, and utilize it to help support purchase another truck. If budget adjustments are approved then at this meeting, then we could order the trucks, put those trucks on order, and we could potentially expect them, I believe, in November, mid-November.
You said truck or trucks?
Trucks. This would be for 2 trucks. Yes, sir. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
315.
A piece.
Can you share with us again approximately how much the maintenance was?
Yes, so we recently looked that up for this fiscal year. We've already spent over 252,000 just in solid waste fund to maintenance.
So a truck,
We almost could have bought a truck.
could have bought a truck.
Mhm.
Now, so once we deplete, I have a question. So once we deplete, so we're not gonna completely deplete these funds. If we're
Well-
buying the 2 trucks.
Not completely deplete, no.
Okay, so we're gonna continue, so we can start planning for the future, so
Yes.
this doesn't happen again to where we have to. Is there a certain amount of time that we can utilize those trucks? I mean, is there like a certain amount of time that they're still good for us? Like what year are our current trucks that we've had to spend so much money on maintenance?
From 2008 to 2019.
19?
So in other words, you're saying what is the time frame, the life cycle?
Spend of those trucks, so we can start saying, okay,
Mhm.
pretty soon, the 2008, if not already, it'll be time to replace that. So we can continue to put money in that account. So I don't know, for a couple of years or for 10 years down the road, we're gonna have to possibly buy another truck each year. So at this point, we don't have to go over 600,000 and buying 2 new trucks just like that.
No, that's understandable. That's something that I have been working closely with our department heads and communicating with them as we build our budget, having these capital projects planned, say a 5-year plan to replace some of these units so that we're not hit all at once with one budget, that we're in dire need for 3 or 4 units.
So we
Yeah,
definitely need to
Usually
continue.
5 years.
Yeah.
A good.
Well, y'all should adopt the police department on this. They budget, they plan, we get new trucks, pickups or police vehicles. Because, I don't know, that's the model we should be following. I would recommend that y'all follow that model.
We've been very fortunate that our police department has been awarded some grants, junior bill and such that, yeah.
What you saying, man?
There's come through grants though,
Well,
most of the time.
I know, but they have a plan.
We're not budgeting for that. We gotta figure out a way to find other money, I think, for some, like we're finding grants for police and fire, finding grants to find these things. We need to try to find some for some of these other big capital expenditures.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
saying that we should adopt their aggressiveness of reaching out, touching other people to get monies to come in, so we don't have to do all this on our own. And so I'm thinking that's the model we should adopt.
Well, you can compare cars with trucks that cost
I'm not
200 and
trying
some
to go fast,
thousand.
Jake, I'm saying that.
Well, that's the way it seems like, because it's a lot easier to get the cars than they use those trucks.
Right, and then once we get these trucks, are they gonna be a 2025? There's a model 2025, so continue just going forward, and this is just good planning, so we need to make sure that we get that in our minds and continue doing that, and we are lucky enough at this point that we do have, and thank you very much for doing what you've done as far as moving around and having that money available in order for us to buy 2 trucks, but this is not gonna happen every year where we're gonna have that money available, so we definitely need to put that at the top of our list as far as getting that mindset on continue doing that, so. Okay, any other questions or comments? No, okay, Ms. Rivera, do you have more to present on
That
that?
will be it on budget adjustments.
Okay,
This-
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Cordova.
Ms. Parker, this was recommended to move forward to council by the finance committee. So with that being said, I make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion has been made.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion has been made by Ms. Cordova, seconded by Mr. South. This is a resolution, so roll call, please.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes,
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Reckler,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Very good. This motion has been made and presented and approved. And it's passed. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, moving to item number 4, review of expense report for March through April of 2025. Mr. Bear.
So in your packet is included the March revenue or March expenditures. And then also the April expenditures. On the very front, you'll see a summary of the expenditures for each fund. And then on the next report, you'll see the detail. And I will stand for any questions.
Okay, is there anything that needs to be made aware of before our attention? Ms. Ramirez? Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? Being none, do I have a,
Did actually mention that?
yes,
Yes.
yes. Do I have a motion to, well, it just says review.
Mhm. It's an action item because it's a ratification of the bills that have
Okay.
been paid.
Do I have a motion to accept the expense report for March through April?
So moved.
second,
Okay, a motion has been made by Mr. Rackler, seconded by Mr.
look,
Lopez. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Okay. Let's run. Okay, any other information or anything needs to be brought before us? Thank you very much, Ms. Rivera. Thank you for the questions from the council. Ms. Cordova, do you have any other questions or comments?
No, ma'am. Thank you, guys. Sorry I was traveling today.
Okay, very good. Okay, with that being said, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.